Thank you for joining us for this edition of Inside View. We're here today with Rich Collins, the county's Emergency Services Director. Thank you, Rich, for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here, Tom.
I want to jump right in, and I want to start off with a question about your background. Share with our viewers a little bit about your personal story and how you ended up here in Sarasota County.
I started a long time ago, back in the 80s, joining the military. I joined the Air Force Reserves as a flight medic and was trained as a medic and came back from the training. Most of my family is in law enforcement or fire protection in and around the suburbs of Chicago. And so when I came back, I started testing for fire departments. I was honored to be able to join Darien Woodridge Fire District, which is a fire department on the southwest suburbs of Chicago. I started there and rose through the ranks throughout the 90s and into the early 2000s up to deputy chief. And about 2005 was offered a position with Osceola County Fire Rescue outside of Kissimmee, St. Cloud. Moved there as deputy chief of administration and training. I have a strong background in training in the fire service. I ran an academy when I was up in the Chicago area for new hires and all the specialized training that we do for firefighters. And so helped start push their training program along, handled administration, was elevated to fire chief in 2008, and then picked up emergency management and 800 megahertz radio system for Osceola County, public safety, all of those types of things. And then about 2014, I saw the position in Sarasota, and it was very intriguing. It was a lot of the things that I like to do. The fire department's a very progressive fire department here, so I was offered the position by you and joined the county in 2014. It's been a phenomenal career with a lot of experience in a lot of different things, and I truly enjoy what I'm doing.
Well, good. As a Marine, I won't hold the Air Force piece against you, or at least I'll try not to. Explain to the viewers, what does the Emergency Services Director do? What is your area of responsibility?
Well, emergency services encompasses the fire department, so that's fire and EMS, as well as our 800 megahertz infrastructure, as well as all the 911 infrastructure at our 911 center. We also have lifeguards in our lifeguarded beaches, and then our emergency management program. So I work with the 4 division managers, the fire chief, emergency management director, and the team, in really looking at where we're going. I kind of, while they're dealing with the day-to-day tactical of getting the job done, I work with them to look at where are we going down the road, identifying a roadmap that looks at progressive departments in our profession, and identifying what the next things are and aligning the roadmap for us to reach those goals. And that includes a lot of different things, such as developing accreditation. We're working on those types of things right now with the fire department and emergency management, strategic plans, standards of coverage, how do we provide service and what that looks like and where do we need to be, and then how do we get there.
Well, you mentioned your background before you came here earlier. It seems like that's a good fit with these broad range of responsibilities that you have. You mentioned your experience with radio systems and knowing that we're doing a project with Manatee County. Maybe you would like to touch on that.
Yeah, right now we're working on almost a $30 million project between both counties, Manatee and Sarasota. We are doing a joint radio system for all of the public safety 800 megahertz. That also includes our non-public safety, like the schools and the school buses. We're in the midst of that project right now. It's supposed to be done early spring, late spring 2018. There are 18 radio tower sites between the 2 counties. They'll all be interconnected so that from a seamless public safety side of it, any of our responders working in either county will be able to talk to one another seamlessly. And then we're also connecting with our neighboring counties like Charlotte County and how we connect with them so that we can provide that broad range service across the entire region.
And I think that regional approach to public safety is really important.
Really is. After 9/11, we kind of identified the ability to be interoperable is extremely important for public safety. And so that's been an ongoing mission, and there's been a lot of changes in how we do things to increase that interoperability between all the different governments so that we can work seamlessly together.
So I guess there's one area that you probably were not involved in when you're up in the Chicago area, which would be lifeguards.
Yeah.
At least lifeguards protecting the #1 beach in the country.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. Uh,
That is, it's an awesome group of individuals providing that service. They have the best office in the county,
Yes,
I think. And so
the best view for sure.
That absolutely is the case. They do a phenomenal job. And I think if residents stopped and talked to some of our lifeguards, we have lifeguards that have been providing service to the county as county employees 10, 15, 20 years. They have to pass tests every 6 months to be able to make those types of rescues. When we talk about the high surf conditions that could be encountered by residents. And they do a phenomenal job. Just since October, they have made over 25,000 preventative education measures, meaning they've taken steps to stop somebody from getting into a rip current or getting in trouble, which really is a safety fact for our citizens. And then they've performed over almost 100 rescues since October. And so they do a phenomenal job on our guarded beaches every day.
Yeah, no, agree. And it's really important. That customer service interaction is something we stress countywide, but they're right out there with the public every day.
When you think about visitors coming to Sarasota County, they may never see the government in action. Hopefully they don't have to call 911 or need assistance. But when they come to our beaches, that is their first and maybe only contact with Sarasota County government. And our lifeguards consider themselves to be ambassadors to the county and to the beaches, and they really do a great job of presenting. As a matter of fact, when they have to help people, our satisfaction rating for their service is 100%. Anybody that receives services from them absolutely loves it, any of the feedback we receive.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's a good, my next question relates, I think, to that, statistics and customer service interactions, but just generally fun facts, things about your department and the various divisions within it that you could share with our viewers today.
Well, one of the first things from the fire side is there's 28 fire stations in the county. Out of 22 of those are all county, so that they include fire engines and maybe a rescue. Some of them are advanced life support engines. We also have fire trucks, which have the big ladders to make rescues. So that's 22 of those stations. The other 6 stations are shared stations. We operate with the City of Venice, Inglewood Fire District, and Nokomis Volunteer Fire Department. We have rescues there, ambulances, and provide EMS services. Our fire department responds to over 62,000 calls a year. And when we think about the growth and the coming back of the economy and people coming back into the area, we're seeing an 8% increase per year in our call volume for EMS over the last 5 years, each year. Our EMS teams do a phenomenal job. We have when somebody is in full arrest and we're doing CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, and 911 is called, the number of folks that are discharged from a hospital, meaning a very positive outcome, they were saved. Our average is 12.5%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you compare it to the national average being only 8%, we are well above the national average. And that says a lot of things about our service and the response, as well as bystander CPR, which is a huge thing. If somebody knows CPR and begins CPR. We just were recognized with the American Heart Association Mission Lifeline Award, and really that identifies departments that are doing best practices in first responder care, which is an excellent award for us to receive this year. And when we look at folks having heart attacks and getting them to the appropriate facility, the national average to getting them to a cath lab where they can be, get rid of the clot in their heart is 30 minutes from the time of call, and we're at 24.5 minutes, so we're below the national average for getting somebody to a hospital in time. So there's a lot of things. I talked about our lifeguards. We're out there all the time doing those types of things, which really makes a difference in the community. Well,
and I think most of the public knows this, but maybe not all. You always receive that question of, why is a fire truck showing up at my house when I called 911 for a medical emergency?
That's a great question. Yes. And there's some of our stations have advanced life support engines, so those are paramedics are on those engines with all the equipment they just can't transport. And obviously we can be very busy. Rescues can be responding to calls, and so all of our firefighters are trained EMTs and or paramedics. And so though that engine will go maybe as a first response to get there before the rescue, or depending on the type of call that we're responding on. If somebody's having a heart attack, it takes more than 2 people to do CPR, put an airway in, breathe for the person, provide the drugs. And so we send the appropriate amount of personnel to be able to assist that individual that needs to be taken care
Yes,
of.
I think that response time is critical in those type of emergencies. So the city of Sarasota, do they have their own fire department?
The city of Sarasota has provided service through the county through an interlocal agreement that's been in place since 1996. We have a great working relationship with the city in that regard. We work with their PD. As a matter of fact, just this last weekend, we had a rescue on the View. We had some construction workers that scaffolding had broke. The city PD was there and responded and assisted, worked right there, right along with us. And so we provide that service throughout the city in a number of fire stations.
And so it's really a local decision that's made. The county is responsible for the unincorporated areas as it relates to fire. From an EMS standpoint, we provide generally a county-wide service, but local communities like the city of Sarasota made a conscious decision years ago to contract, if you will, with Sarasota County, where other cities may elect to do it themselves on the fire side. Either way, though, it's still a regional system.
It is a regional system. One of the great things, when somebody calls 911, the fire engine or rescue that pulls up in front of their house, they're not really looking at what the name is. They're having a bad day and they expect somebody to be there. And we really provide that service across all of the jurisdictions the same way. So whether you're in the city of Venice, which has its own fire department, we all respond together every day and support one another and provide that service to one another seamlessly, which is really awesome from a citizen standpoint.
So if we're tied up in an area just outside the city of Venice, but Venice has crews available, do they automatically respond to that call if needed?
They will be called and dispatched through our communication center. So our dispatch center, our 911 center, which is located with the Emergency Operations Center, it's in a Category 5 rated building that was built about 2 years ago. We provide dispatch services for most of the cities and all of the operations. So City of Venice, EMS and Fire are in our dispatch center combined with the county. Inglewood Fire District, Northport Fire and EMS is in the center, Longboat Key and the City of Sarasota. So from a seamless standpoint of providing service, it happens very quickly.
Yeah. What I think is unusual, in some communities you have multiple answering points for the 911 system. We're very fortunate here to have one answering point, and especially from the fire and EMS side, the ability to dispatch units, whether they're county units, city units, or Englewood Fire District, et cetera.
You know, it's a great point. When I was up in Chicago, suburbs of Chicago, DuPage County, we had 14 primary answering points for 911 with 36 different municipalities. To come to a county where we have basically one answering point with everybody working together really is an efficiency in government, efficiency in taxpayer dollars, and seamless response that provides the quickest level of service to the citizens.
Yeah. You touched on customer service a little while ago, but anything else you can share about how you emphasize customer service in the department and in those divisions?
You know, when someone picks up and dials 911, they're having the worst day of their life. Maybe somebody's not breathing, or their house is on fire, or something's happening that they can't control and need assistance right away. And so we like to have the philosophy in the department that when someone makes that call, they don't have a choice. They pick up 911 and they expect somebody to be there. And so we look at it as our family coming to their family, and that our folks should take care of them like it's their own mother or father or spouse or child. And if we do that, we can never go wrong in how we provide that service.
Good. So how do individuals contact the Emergency Services Department or one of your divisions like the Fire Department or Lifeguards?
So there's multiple ways. Citizens can go to scgov.net. Down at the bottom of our homepage, there's a bar that says Emergency Services, and you can find out about most of our stuff right there. We have the ability to sign up for Code Red, which is a way for residents to get notifications if there's emergencies or important information that they need to know. We also have the ability to find out what zone you live in. Obviously, we're on the coast, an evacuation zone, so they can find that information out. So that's a great place to start. If our residents are on Facebook, they can go to Sarasota County Emergency Services. We put out information there, and they can see some of the great things our folks are doing every day in response and what goes on in the county. And then we're also on Twitter at Emergency Services SC.gov.
Okay, very good. Well, you have to have multiple ways to get out there and communicate with the public, and also for them to obviously reach back. Hurricane season, you know, it's an annual event in Florida. It's something we're always concerned about. Emergency management, as you mentioned, is one of your areas. And so how important it is for the public to pay attention to not just us, but also the media.
You know, when you look at the history of disasters in the country, so we can go back to hurricanes 2005 in Florida, we can go to Superstorm Sandy, we can go to any one of the number of events. What we find is that communities that are resilient, meaning communities that come back from that disaster, they're impacted and they come back to normal, that amount of time that it takes to get back is the resiliency of the community. And the shorter the resiliency, the stronger the community. And what we found are two things. One, government's preparedness. And we have an incredible team in our emergency management department. They are constantly working, planning. All of our directors, the leadership of the county, our partners in the cities, we're constantly working together in planning. We do exercises regularly, and we have plans in place to communicate and to be able to provide the things to be ready for a storm, to respond and recover from a storm. That's half of the battle. The other half of the battle is our citizens being prepared. We like to say the first 72 are on you. Our citizens need to have a plan. They need to have food, water, the things to be able to handle themselves for 72 hours. If they live in an evacuation zone, be cognizant of the information coming out from emergency management and from Sarasota County government on evacuations, on shelters. Have a plan on where they will go. If they have pets, they should have all of the things to be able to take their pet with them. And all of that information can be found on scgov.net under emergency services. So it's twofold. One, us being prepared, which we work very tirelessly at, and our citizens being prepared. We are entering hurricane season. They are saying it's going to be an active season. But I think you and I would agree that it only takes one storm, and so being prepared is the most important thing.
Yes, and it's not just hurricanes. There's other events that, it's the same preparedness that helps with those as well.
Absolutely, it's all hazard. So if you're prepared for hurricanes, you're prepared for any one of a number of things, from flooding to a man-made disaster or whatever.
So great information. Is there one takeaway you'd want to share with the viewers before we wrap up today?
I think the greatest thing about emergency services, and it's really all of Sarasota County government, but in emergency services we see a strong desire and dedication to taking care of community. And we're here for our citizens. If they have an emergency or they need help, they can dial 911. If they have a question, they can call 861-5000, and we're here to answer those questions. And we are proud and humbled to be able to serve them.
Great. Well, thank you, Rich. You do a great job. I'm glad you could join us today, and thank you for joining us for this edition of Inside View.